Hey guys, welcome to the TLYS show, the Waiting Out COVID-19 series I'm leading. On this episode, we continue to talk to people about how they have been coping with this pandemic and how their lives have been affected. Today, we are very glad to have Genda joining us from Changchun, China. Genda is a semi-professional basketball player and now works as a language instructor at a language institute in Changchun. Hey, Genda.
Hi, hello everyone, and very glad to be here.
Thank you for joining us. Our goal is to make a record or documentation of people's life during this particular time, and we're very glad to have you with us today.
All right, so what should we talk about?
Let's talk about your place. Your place looks like a professional podcast studio.
Yeah, it's an apartment I just recently renovated and got a bunch of stuff. Got the microphone set up, you can see in the camera. There's headsets, and yeah, the purpose, the goal was to make this a place for podcasts. I was originally intended to do something like this, right? I'm not sure what kind of podcast I'm gonna do in the future yet, but it's definitely a part of the plan, right? Maybe someday in the future.
Great. I mean, was it because of the time you had at the moment or previously, and then you just started renovating and preparing for it?
Yeah, exactly. It was like back in the days, I was pretty much busy all the time, right? And I really didn't have any moment in my life to devote to something like this. And now I have the time and a little bit of extra money. And now I'm really decided to do this, like seriously. So I still don't know how it's going to turn out yet, but I'm pretty excited. And this is my first time. This is my first time being on any podcast, right? And I hope this conversation can give me some insight.
Oh, okay. First of all, welcome to the community. And we are also amateurs, and yeah, due to things happening in your life, and this just happened. And since you have this idea for a long time, just go for it. Yeah. And how long have you been practicing social distancing, or are you still practicing it in your place?
Well, the lockdown has basically been lifted, right? So here you go out, you go to public places, those are no problem. And so like 2 months ago, I've basically been quarantined for like around 2 months, right? Like around like 50 days, just staying at home most of the time. And yeah, and it was hard. It was one of those very isolated moments where you have bare minimum of human interaction, right? I talk to my parents, I talk to my girlfriend, and that's it. I don't really talk to anybody else. And it was a hard time to keep my sanity and to keep, well, also keep fit.
Oh yeah, you're a very athletic person. So how did you get through this 2 months self-isolation time?
Yeah, I mean, like the hardest part is not actually about any equipment or like nutrition. For me, and I'm speaking for a lot of people, the hardest part is actually how to keep up your motivation. And that is just very difficult when you're staying at home, right? When you're going to the gym, there's like gym culture that that motivates you to do something, right? You want to run, you want to lift some weight. And when you're at home, there's a very comfortable environment, and all you want to do is just probably lay down on the couch and watch the movie. And when you do that, when you're laying on the couch watching a movie, there gotta be some popcorns or chips and any snacks. And that is the hardest part. That is just very tempting and hard to resist.
Mm-hmm. Well, I cannot see I can just see you from your shoulders and above. So but you look great. So what's the secret? How did you get your motivation back?
Yeah, well, for people who don't know me personally, I'm a really tall person. I'm about 6'7", and for me to look lean is not very difficult. Well, I can eat anything I want and probably still look lean. and people don't notice. I probably gained like 20 pounds and still look the same. And that is just from the outside, right? When you put on clothes and you got everything covered up, and that's easy for me. But when you're actually doing the exercise, when you're in the gym, I went back to the gym recently, and you realize how much of a difference it was, right? When you kind of stopped lifting, when you stopped working out for like 2 months, your body feels different. Your body is, well, it's like so alienated. You're not familiar with your body, and you have to regain all those momentum. You have to regain all those muscle connection. And that was very frustrating for me. And now I've been going back to the gym for about 2 weeks, and now I'm finally getting some of the muscle memory back, and I think things are looking to be pretty good.
So did you exercise at all during that 2 months at home?
Yeah, well, I try to exercise regularly, and in my home I have I don't have too many equipments, so the only thing I have some resistant bands. And if anyone out there still experiencing the lockdown, I highly recommend that you get at least like 3 pairs of resistant bands. And those things are pretty cheap. You can get them anywhere, right? Get them from Amazon, get them from Walmart. Pretty cheap and super, super useful. The thing about them is that you can use them to exercise any body part that you want, right? You change up the angle, you attach them to some goalposts, to anything, and you can have your home gym set up. And so yeah, I did some exercise, but it felt different. I felt different. Doing that on my apartment floor is just, I don't know, it's just weird. I like that kind of competition you get in the gym, right? When you're going to the gym, like you're doing this, but you're not only doing this for yourself, you're actually probably competing with the guy sitting next to you, right? He's benching like 100 kilo and you want to bench more than that, right? So yeah, so that for me was missing when I'm working out at home. And but yeah, I still keep pretty good shape, but the level of intensity, the level of like fierceness was missing when I was working out at home.
For a lot of people, I don't go to the gym, but I work out my own way. One of the reasons is that I have this, like, I might be biased. It looks or it feels very boring to, work out at a gym or with those equipments and stuff. So I think probably a lot of girls feel like this. Do you have any idea how to, make it fun?
Yeah, well, I totally understand. Like some people, well, gym culture is not for everyone to begin with, right? There's a lot of repetition. For a lot of people, it is tedious. It is repeating, and it get bored pretty soon, right? A lot of people probably do it after like a month or two, and for a lot of people, they don't see results. And you've been lifting for like a month, right? You're not seeing the abs, right? You're not seeing like very defined muscle definition. You're not seeing those in 2 months. So a lot of people's like, yeah, that's not worth it. I'm not going to spend like hours in the gym every day just trying to look a certain way, right? Like staying home is probably much more comfortable than that. So that's one problem. That's one mentality that a lot of people have, that they're like expecting these quick results. And just like language learning, right? I've been a language tutor for almost three years now. And one of the biggest problems I have seen in students is that they want to see things quick. They want those, like, I want to do this in like 5 days, right? I want to do this in like 10 days. I was like, buddy, it's not happening. That's just not possible. And the same thing goes with the gym culture. It is very bored when you work out for like a month, right? You're doing the same routine over and over, probably just with a slightly more weight on the bar, and it doesn't feel that rewarding. It feels boring, and I completely understand that. And that's probably the reason why a lot of people quit it, like during the first month or two. But yeah, just like in any particular field, like only a small fraction of people actually can stick with it and actually get to the top. And that is the same thing with the gym culture, right? When you go into the gym, only a very, very small percentage of population actually look good. And yeah, that's just the thing it is. I'm not really like encouraging everyone to like go to the gym, right? Because I know it's not for everyone, right? So if you have like other exercise to do, I know you're into like cycling, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very, very healthy lifestyle. And I really appreciate that. Like doing that, well, it's a very good exercise for your cardiovascular system, right? You get a pretty healthy heart and live a longer life. I mean, there's nothing wrong about that. Not everybody is built for the gym. And find something you like. Find like swimming, probably, like cycling, right? Jogging, right? Anything that you like, and you can stick with it. And that is a recommendation I probably give to like most people.
All right. So apart from resistance bands, anything else that people can do at home to keep fit?
Yeah. Well, when we talk about fitness, right, general fitness, there's always two parts that we must talk about. One is training, and the other one is nutrition. Well, and I will probably go as far as nutrition is more important than the actual training. That is a bigger part of the picture. I would say most people binge eat probably more often than before when they're during the lockdown. The mental stress, right? The feeling of isolation, and basically just you have nothing to do. Well, you have nothing better to do than just eat for a lot of people. And a lot of people become really good cook after the quarantine. So
yeah.
So me, nutrition was still difficult, and you have this urge, you have this desire to eat something, right? Like fried chicken, for example. Big fan of that. Like pop soda, right? Because it's like a sugary beverages. Those are, well, it just taste great. But the problem with those is once you get addicted to it, well, nutrition is far more important than training. You can never outwork your nutrition. No matter how many hours you put in the gym, how many hours you spend on the treadmill, right? Like one terrible meal is gone. So for a lot of people, just have this ideal image of being fit, being lean to begin with. I just think they should focus more on the nutrition, and maybe they don't even need to think about training. They don't need to go to the gym. Most people don't need to go to the gym to be fit, to be lean. And so like for me, the easiest advice to give is that probably just put down your fork, right? Put down your fork. When you're feeling not hungry, put down your fork. That's the easiest advice that I can give to people. A lot of people feeling this, like, I need to finish my plate, right? Or I feel bad, I feel terrible when I cook all these things, but I leave them, probably just throw them out. Yeah, that is a sacrifice you have to make when you try to stay lean. Make less food next time, probably, right? Make a smaller portion of the food. And yeah, that's the easiest thing people can do, but also the hardest because, well, not a lot of people have that determination to put down the fork. Not a lot of people have those like courage, right? So yeah, if you're listening to this podcast, if you trying to stay fit, trying to stay lean, just put down your fork when you're not very hungry, right? So eating should be something to satisfy your hunger, not to like stuff yourself with, I don't know, fried chicken or something like that.
But sometimes people eat for comfort as well. I mean, so that could be an issue. So apart from exercise and workout, how did you spend your time when you were quarantined?
Well, at home, I didn't really have many like um, things to do. I'm a
Mm,
big gamer, so I spend a lot of time on video games. Uh,
mm,
and well, I wanted to pick up a book that I have been reading for like years, and I gave it up in the middle, and just found out, well, I probably never gonna finish it in my lifetime. And that's the thing. There's one of the epiphany, right, that I realized is that now if you have all the time in the world, right, and and you have something that you didn't do before, and you think it was because of the time, right? You think you don't have enough
mm,
time, and now you still don't do it. You're probably never gonna do it in your life. So like reading that book was one thing that happened to me. The book was
mm,
like this thick. It was like
mhm.
500 pages, right? And it was one of the books I read in college and didn't really have the time to read the entire thing. And now I'm thinking like maybe I have the time, but no, it's
Yeah,
just not happening.
yeah, yeah. I think you just said something that a lot of people hate to admit. I totally agree with you. Really.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So then you also said that you were trying to keep your sanity. So how did that part work out?
Yeah, um, well, we're not going to talk too much about politics here because there's so many negative news happened
Mm,
during the quarantine, right? Domestically, internationally, there's crazy stuff happening all the time, and it's easy for you to look at all those news and then completely lose faith in all humanities. So, yeah, like for me, well, old saying is look on the bright side. But when you're in that situation, it's hard to find a bright side. There's no silver lining in anything. You can't find a silver lining. So, so for me, fitness definitely helped a lot when you're trying to stay, well, mentally healthy, right? A lot of the pressure, a lot of the, well, negative thoughts you have, well, probably not going to bother you anymore after a very, very intense workout, right? You
mhm.
spend like 1 hour on the treadmill, you'll forget about anything, right? You forget about anything. Forget about your mother's first name. So yeah, like exercising really helps people to release their pressure. And there's one saying, right? So my coach once told me that, well, when you look at the population of, well, the overall athlete, the professional athletes, right? You see a very small fraction of people actually suffering from depression and other mental anxiety and those kind of things. So I think there's a reason behind that. It's because when you're exercising, when you're doing the training, like with that intensity, and it's easy to forget about a lot of things. And yeah, and scientifically speaking, your brain is releasing these chemicals like dopamine, epinephrine, and these chemicals, these substances, help you to be more of a happy guy. And when you're
Mhm,
staying on your couch, when you're not moving your body, which is not how nature designed us to do, right? The nature want us to be runners. Nature want us to be like athletic. That's how we were in human history. And we are not doing the nature's way when you're sitting on your couch all day. And what you get is a very low level of, well, number one, testosterone. That is um, one of the most important substance that can keep your muscle mass. And your dopamine, you probably feel depressed, um, like irritable, a lot of terrible things happen. So yeah. So definitely, if you're feeling anxiety, if you're feeling some stress and pressure, I strongly recommend do some cardio, do some like medium intensity workout that can help.
mhm. All right. When it comes to working out, a lot of people are, you know, having this tendency to set like a target. Yeah. Do you also set a target for yourself?
Yeah, well, I have I have a very particular schedule for me. I have a long term, about year round. I have an annual goal, right? At the end of the year, what I want to become. I have that. For example, last year, my goal was to bench press 100 kilo, and I did it much earlier than I expected. And short term, I have like a monthly goal I want to hit, right? For example, now I'm doing a little bit of cutting. I want to shed some fat, some body fat that I accumulated from the quarantine. So, and basically every month I'm looking forward to dropping about like 1 to 2 pounds of body fat. So that is my monthly goal. And every day when I go to the gym, every time when I go to the gym, my only goal is very clear. It's just to work your ass off, work as hard as you can, harder than last time. And that is I think that's the goal everybody should have. Everybody should have when they go to the gym.
Is it a lonely journey to be so athletic and at all times?
Well, I'm not. I wasn't an athletic kid to begin with. When I was younger, when I was in middle school, I was this like a very skinny, very frail guy who's like, I was around 6'6" when I was in middle school, and yeah, and then the transformation kind of started when I was in middle school, and I was so fortunate to meet my middle school coach, and he believed in me. He trusted me, right? He saw future in this kid, right? In this like really slanky kid, and and I trained really hard and got injured a lot. I didn't know how to do scientifically, and but I didn't give up. I didn't give up. And so the lucky thing is I didn't find this journey to be lonely, right? I have all these teammates who train with me. I have all these buddies, right? And now I still go to the gym with some buddies, and well, they're really good source of inspiration for me. Some of them got really good physique, right? You can see like a very defined muscles, right? They've been training for 10, right, 15 years, and that is the target, that is the goal that I'm looking for. And also I have some buddies who were just like me, right? Who are these like not very talented, right? Unathletic population, and they're not genetically gifted. Some of them overweight, some of them like super skinny, right? They were just like me when I was like 5 years ago. So, and these people kind of reminded me how important it is to reach out to them, right? And a lot of people feel awkward in the gym. A lot of people feel like they're out of place, right? And like for me, simply giving them some advice, right? Teaching them how to do something, that was a great source of information for them. And yeah, I enjoyed the sense of community when I was in the gym.
That's good. That's awesome. What about people around you? I mean, like we used to work for the same workplace. Not many people are very into, workout or sports. Do you like intentionally, talk to them about what you do, or do they ask you questions about those things?
Yeah, I tried to do that, right? I actively reach out to people and try to recruit them, right, to sign up for like a gym or like to get a membership card or something. And I did. Well, I get one person. James, right, the math teacher back in the school, and well, he's not a very athletic person, and he signed up for the membership, and it's been. Well, he signed up last year actually, so it's been about 5 months, and he still hasn't showed up yet. Still hasn't showed up even once, not even once. So okay. I think that's the problem with a lot of people. They're like they have this this whim. It's like a spurt of the moment. Like, oh, now I want to do this, right? But it's so short-lived. These desires are so short-lived, and this is really just that moment, and after that moment they probably never go to the gym. And yeah, we have a lot of people.
Yeah. When you were saying this, it just got me into thinking that, do you think gyms are kind of responsible for this kind of phenomenon. They're like, we're just happy that you were signed up, and we are also happy that you're not showing up.
Yeah, that's how basically every gym make money, right? Every gym makes money. You're getting a lot of the membership and people don't really show up. That's just free money, right? You just get them. And probably my gym hated people like me, right? Like I basically go there every day and use a lot of their equipment and yeah, showed up every day. So yeah, well, I don't blame them. I don't think it's I don't think it's anyone's fault. I just I just sincerely hope that if you actually have that determination to spend money in something, why not put in a little bit of extra work, right? Spend like hours, go there and try it and see if it's a lifestyle for you. And if it doesn't work out, well, it's about 1,000 yuan per year. It's not a lot of money. So I mean, if you find out it's not for you, probably you don't sign up next time. That's a simple advice.
Yeah. All right. So has this pandemic changed you in any way?
Well, it definitely changed me in terms of how I look at like my profession, how I look at my career. Like, well, this industry, right, that you and me are both in, has been affected the most, I believe. It definitely took a hard hit, right? And we're losing students and all the exams, right? We're exam teachers, so all the exams has been, well, most of them has been put off, and we don't really know when it's going to come back. So this is not a very reliable, very I don't know, very promising industry to be in, and definitely I'm thinking about developing some skills, right? Developing some expertise that can actually last for last for longer, right? That doesn't depend so much on the market. It doesn't depend so much on like any emergencies like this. So I'm thinking about going back to school. It's still on my mind. I always wanted to go back to school, but the thing is, I don't know what to learn, and I'm not so sure about what major, or what future career I'm gonna take. So that is the hardest part for me.
Yeah, I see. Exactly. So any other thoughts you have during this period of time?
Yeah. So one thing that struck me the most was like when I saw your podcast, I was like, this is amazing, right? This is something exactly I wanted to do, but I didn't have, well, I didn't have the courage, I didn't have the time to do it. And now looking at all these people, right, sharing their experience, talking about their situations, some of them are kind of professional, some of them are just common people like us, right? It has been a great moment for me. We're all in this together, and that feeling of isolation, right? We talk about that, give you a lot of anxiety, give you a lot of pressure. And when you see people actually sharing their stories and talk about their situations, and there's something you can relate to, right? There's like familiarities, there's similarities in all the stories. And you're like, even though the nationality is different, the environment is different, right? And there's a human part that deep down inside of us that is just the same all across the board. And I really appreciate that. When I saw that in your podcast, I was really, really moved by that. So yeah, and now it's a good time for me to say thank you. And I really appreciate the effort that you put into everything. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Thank you. I mean, like even before, I think before we started recording, we were chatting. So that gave me a lot of like confidence as well. So, I mean, this is also one of the silver linings that we have during this particular time. And to anyone who has any like dreams and hopes, just go out and test it. And same to you. I think you're gonna be great. Okay, look at your place. It's like a really humbled.
Yeah, well,
You're set up.
Yeah, I'm happy I got this place. Its apartment is about, well, it's almost
Love
like
you.
a penthouse. It's a pretty high up, and yeah. And now when I look out the window, there's like the view of the lake. You can see it right out of my window, and yeah. And having this apartment gave me a lot of relief during this pandemic. Right, staying in isolation was hard, but staying in isolation in a beautiful place was probably a lot easier for me. So,
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, Jenda, for spending your time with us, and all the very best to you.
all right,
Um,
thank you.